Whoa, it's the Yewllusion reporting from somewhere on Spaceship Earth. I just got done with the Parks and Recreation meeting. It was rad. Took forever though. It's funny. So one of the things we were doing is approving our agenda for the next year to get sent to the city council to be approved by the city manager or accepted by the city manager. And it's funny because one of the things I was like that I wanted the language included was about habitat, native habitat, and facilitating native habitat in our parks and recs facilities or properties in the city of Malibu. And there's this other gal who's on the commission who's the like fully into like butterflies, full like super lefty. And I'm a pretty political right guy, but at the end of the day, I'm a super avid habitat guy. And it was funny because we were talking about inserting this language, and I was like, whatever, don't put environment. And I go, that's just the worst. Environmental is the worst word ever to do now. And I was thinking about it because as I was talking about it, I was like, we can't put environmental stuff in it because that's just this bad, it doesn't mean anything anymore. In fact, anything associated with environmental causes is just Agenda 2030 weirdo-ness. But habitat is what I'm about habitat and ecosystems and sustainability of our planet. And I was just tripping making this thing is because I think on a certain level, our habitats we exist in cross all political lines. Like, who doesn't want a healthy planet except the extractionists, right? The people that extract resources from the planet. And I would say they are part of the other political party, which is the stuff my pockets political party, the interest-bearing currency party. I don't know. I was just trippy because the gal at the end of the thing thanked me because I was insistent on this language get included in the public record about what we're about for our next year is about encouraging native habitats on our park lands and all the things that come with it. And then we talked a lot about the skate park and all sorts. It was just kind of cool because, you know, we allocated projects costing about $180,000 today. And then another one that was this weird. So it's so weird, the stuff that goes on out in the world. So the city of Malibu accepted this sculpture from Israel that weighs 3,000 plus pounds. And I was like, one of my comments during the thing was like, how can we be a green community when we're shipping a rock or accepting a rock that was shipped? It was donated to the city, but accepting this carved rock that was shipped around the planet, when you start thinking about bunker fuel, and I talked about it, I was like, bunker fuel's my issue, not cars. Like, bunker fuel and cargo ships, if you want to talk about toxic stuff going into the atmosphere, that's it. It's just funny because the lady who, if she knew where I stand politically, would probably lynch me. But yet when I talk about my views on the ecosystem and the abuse of resources and the environment, like, I'm super on the other side. But I think that's part of what's gone on is the caring and stewardship of our planet's been stolen by the left too, by the social justice wars as well. I got to go pick up our food, but I'll finish this thought maybe later. Where was I? Oh, so Parks and Recs meeting. So it was a 3-hour meeting, all said and done. And there's another one next week about whether we're going to sell 2 acres of property to the LA County. Different meeting, right? So it's interesting because it might seem minor, but like what a Parks and Recs Commission meeting, or at least in our city, does is we steer Parks and Recs. So we get to bring things up and they get to implement them, and the city runs, but we are essentially an oversight committee that approves and moves things through and sends things to the city council. And I don't think most people understand how much money's moving around in municipalities. So for example, we were talking tonight about putting in some removing some structures from like one of our parks that no one uses and putting in some new structures that someone else will use. And all of a sudden it gets into where the money comes from and how the money moves, and this money comes from this proposition. And so, for example, this piece of equipment, in order to get it paid for from one proposition that's like a standing 20-year plus thing that was voted on 20 years ago for park facilities. 20 years ago, this money was put into action. So, we got a certain amount from there and then some more from over there. But in order for this piece of equipment to qualify for the money that's been in from 20 years ago, it has to do a certain thing. So it was trading one workout structure for another. Like you couldn't just go put in a new piece of a different style, like let's say a swing set. It would have to be some sort of physical, it'd have to be similar in purpose to what was previously there in order to get the money to pay from this previous existing money. So it's just very interesting when you really get in on the level of one of the things you get to learn participating in the system is how the money moves around and where the money comes from. And the money is very interesting because, so this park equipment, this money was allocated via a proposition that was voted on in an election like 20 years ago. 20 years ago, this money pays out a certain amount every year. It's like $110,000 a year. It goes to the city of Malibu for park-related stuff, for a specific park. It's fascinating because we don't understand, I shouldn't say it like that, is to understand truly what we're like when you don't vote. Yeah, you can say that voting for the president's stupid and voting for this and that's kind of dumb, but really when you vote for proposition and bond measures and all this stuff, that's real money that you're deciding on. And if that bond doesn't pass, that money doesn't go into place. So it was this Proposition A money that was voted on, I think like 20 years ago. So 20 years ago, there was a vote about, I don't know if I'm right about what proposition it was. This money was voted on publicly, and this money's still being doled out 20 years later from the state coffers, your tax money. So so a lot of these issues that people say voting doesn't count, they're highly wrong, because it does when it comes to financial issues, i.e. bond measures, like anything relating like taxes, all this kind of stuff, you do directly have a say over as a voter, and it behooves you to be informed. Yeah, you can definitely say that it does not matter who the dum-dum at the top is. Arguably, it doesn't matter. And you can also kind of say that about like a lot of these higher issues, but on the local level, on the bond and proposition level, man, your vote absolutely does have financial implications in the system. And it was funny because that's a lot of the stuff we were talking about today was money that was voted on back in the day. We're spending today. So I just want to encourage people to participate in who your district attorney is absolutely affects you. To not vote, know who your district, and I'm not big in that one either. I've gotten turned on to how that's being taken over by the commies, because nobody does know who their district attorneys are, and the commies are putting people in that are ideologically framed in a certain way, that are using the system against us because we don't participate and we don't know who any of these people are. So I guess what I'm getting at is I get inspired when I go to being at a Parks and Rec commission meeting tonight. Yeah, it was a pain in the ass. It was 3 hours long. We were babbling about a lot of minutia and blah, 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 blah. But realistically, man, we do have the power, people. We're abdicating our authority. And people want, and that's why they dumb us down with the presidential stuff. They make it all about the president. Oh yeah, you know who but that stuff truly does not matter. What really matters is the stuff that's going on the local level and the state level involving your pocketbook and your laws. Look, man, if you don't know who your district attorney is in your municipality or county or whatever, and you got one that's a rogue element, yeah, it's trouble. I don't know. I'm just sort of pumped. I get super inspired about all this stuff. I'm super hungry. I'm slightly delirious. I drank a giant cup of coffee not that long ago. So I'm super fired up. I'm a believer, man. I am a super believer. So I just encourage people to get involved where they can. It took 3 hours. 3 hours to really have a say in the reality I exist in, and I'm super fired up on it, and I'm here. This is the Yewllusion signing off.